'Cause it's been too long, it's all gone wrong since I've known. Couldn't have caught it home, caught it home. No, I couldn't have caught it home. Well, this evening, she called me up. She wanted me to pick something up. Well, former dad said he's not feeling good. I said, I'll be right there. I'll run this hammer for you. Riding down the road, I'm on my way. My tire pops, my car starts to sway. Well, oh goddamn, I hope he understands. And oh goddamn, I hope he understands. Well, and I know that he's in pain, 'cause the night girl, it's in my veins, and it's harder every
You're not
single
getting the
day.
135 or 37%
Before the
gold.
dawn, they say. Before the dawn, they say. There's a shame well, troubles with you. Gotta thank you for coming through. Yeah, for coming through. Finally got there, well, just a little late, and I gave him the mess for his pain as I sat there, well, looking at this man, and he said to me, you do the best you can. And I know that he's in pain, 'cause the night girl, it's in my veins, it gets harder every single day. It gets darker before the dawn, they say. Before the dawn, they say.
Sure.
but I'm not there. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm somewhere else. Yeah, in my head.
Check, check, test.
Well, thinking about when I was on my own, but not too long ago. Yeah, well, all alone. And darkness filled my heart and my soul. It seemed them to the bones. Yeah, but I didn't care. Oh. And I see the way it goes back years before I get to the right place. And no longer home, I must get gone and move on to the next one. And through the trees I find my peace. It's not where I expected, and it's a fine line to find the time to go and listen. See the money on the floor, she said, well, I'll be right back to get the bags. I don't care if you're listening. Well, she's gone, but I know what she really likes. Passing by on the other side. 'Cause you're leaving me now, but I don't care. I know you think I'm in despair, but I'm happy now with you long gone. I'm not like you, yeah, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And I see the way it goes back years before I get to the right place. And no longer home, I must get gone, move on to the next one. And through the trees I find my peace. It's not where I expected, and it's a fine line to find the time to go and listen. Must I find a new life to live now? Should I move back to my friend's house? Well, I remember the days when we used to sing. We're going back to the place that I love to be. I realize what I really need. I hear her screaming, yeah. till I saw another. He was all cloaked in black.
Sure. All right. So, I don't know how well that desktop, the timer actually worked. It's the first time I've ever used the timer. So anyway, yeah, boom, we're here. All right, everybody. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm super nervous. This is the first official episode of 60 Foot, the podcast. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted my first episode to be. I thought about, do I want to script it? Do I want to lay a plan out? Do I want to have everything laid out where it was going to be maybe we have an opening and then a body and then a closer? Was I going to have anyone that wanted me to be an ambassador for the brand? What was going to transpire during the weeks of sharing the page and trying to grab subscribers? And I knew I wanted my first episode to be about me because I knew that I wanted to be vulnerable to people, to show them that they could also be vulnerable. They could get on the podcast. We could talk. We could do an episode, and they could open up. So I spent a few hours sitting at my desk. I got the Streamlab thing set up, the camera set up, last second firmware update, got the mic set up, and I wrote a script, and then I rewrote it, and then I rewrote it, and then I deleted it. I decided that I don't need a script to tell my story. I don't need to write my story down and read it. I think the most valuable asset that we have is our time. And I wasted a lot of time writing a script for a story that I've never completely told, but I'm ready to tell. So the inspiration for this podcast has come over a couple of years. People have oftentimes misjudged me. People have assumed that I'm something I'm not. People have taken my just overall looks and the way I dress, the things I drive, and they've mischaracterized me. Which is honestly, it's kind of awesome because I've spent several years proving people wrong consistently. So I think that there are a lot of people that are in the same place as me. I think that there are a lot of people out there that have success stories, that are business owners, that could probably give a lot of advice to other guys like me who were mischaracterized, judged early. The amount of negativity that I received throughout high school is just absolutely overwhelming. I guess I'm going to start from the beginning. We'll get there, and I'll explain it. Well, I won't have to explain it. You'll know already. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell. That bell icon will make it where you get a notification when we have another podcast coming up. All right. So I grew up with a really, really good dad that was I don't know if submissive is probably the best word, but he definitely was non-confrontational. And I grew up with a mom that was an absolute train wreck, belligerent, drunk person. So, with that being said, it's really easy to end up in a situation where you develop different feelings or preconceptions about your life when you're young because you don't realize that it's just you. You don't realize that the things going on in your life, may or may not go on in other people's lives. So, throughout elementary school, I can remember for a little while we lived in an apartment complex in West Ashley. By the way, that's Charleston, South Carolina. So there's a place in Charleston, South Carolina, West Ashley. We lived in West Ashley, Dogwood Bluff Apartments. I can remember living in Dogwood Bluff Apartments and, playing football and everything with my cousins. I can remember we had a pool there, and everything seemed relatively normal. But I shared a bedroom with two other people, and the family members that lived with me were oftentimes my two older cousins who are now deceased, and I'm not gonna go there. That was both of them murdered. Anyway, so my mom was more of a friend to them than she was a good peer. So I'm sharing a bedroom in an apartment complex. We literally shared a bed, and one of us slept one direction, the other of us slept another. We had two blankets where essentially one of us slept on the other one's blanket, and I would go to bed, and then one of my cousins would be up with my mom until whatever hour, partying, and they're a couple years older than me, so it was just absolutely crazy. I grew up really unique, in a very unique situation where I was constantly surrounded in drugs and alcohol. I had every opportunity in the world to do everything wrong. I had all the possibilities given to me to completely just wreck my life. And somehow I came out. So, moving forward, when at that point in my life where I feel like man, I would rather have my own room, and man, I really, I wish I had my own space, and I wish that they weren't so loud at night and things like that. What I didn't realize was, even though they were there and partying with my mom, they were protecting me. They eventually left, and we had moved, and life changed a little bit. Then my cousins aren't there, but that opened a door. Because now that they aren't there partying with my mom, she didn't have those people there to keep other adults away from me. So then I start basically interacting with these other adults. I'm a fairly intelligent kid. Man, I think at this point I might be in the 4th or 5th grade. And I have people in their 30s and 40s just absolute belligerent drunks that my sorry ass mom had me believing were my friends as well as hers, and that led to a lot of issues when you're going to school and your friends are, they're asking you, hey, why do you smell like cigarette smoke, and why is your shirt still wet, because it was not dried properly, or didn't you wear those pants yesterday? I basically, in the 4th or 5th grade, had not developed my own personality, really. I was kind of a funny, goofy kid, but I didn't, I hadn't really got into girls fully yet, so I didn't have a feeling of nice clothes, nice shoes, clean socks. These are things that I had not really developed yet. So we'll fast forward a little bit and move on to middle school. We moved to Johns Island, which not to bring any sort of race in anything. I don't want that to happen. I want to try to stay as neutral about things as I can. But I went to a school called Hot Gap Middle School. And in that school, when I went there were probably one white kid per 30 black and 20 Hispanic. So you could imagine how an overweight kid that smells like cigarettes with a drunk mom gets along in a school where he's the minority. A lot of people don't know that about me, and it's kind of interesting because today, I'll wear a dress shirt, a flat bill hat, khakis, and tennis shoes, and I've kind of just developed my own way, and I have so many friends now, and I've kind of become who I'm gonna be. They would have never guessed that 6th and 7th grade was a complete nightmare. I would go home from school, and I walked home, and it was probably about a mile walk. About halfway home, I would start building this anxiety. It was a feeling that just built in my chest, and it felt like as I walked, someone was adding a brick. As I walked, they added another brick, because I knew when I got home that my mom had not been awake very long, and that she had been up all night, and she would cook these just ridiculous meals at like 3 a.m. for her and her drunk friends, and she would make things with like cheeses and things, and it would burn to the pan, and the pans were ridiculous to wash, and there was glasses everywhere, and liquor bottles and beer cans, and the living room was trashed. The house was infested with roaches. It was completely filthy and gross. That's what I had to come home to. So I would wake up, go to school, to have teachers that didn't understand me, kids that just completely made me feel like shit, and I would head home to hell. I mean, it was literally like living in hell. And sorry. There's a certain personality trait that you develop when you're going through that. You build kind of a tough outer shell, and you learn how you're going to deal with those things. You learn your coping mechanisms, and my coping mechanism was oftentimes to laugh or to make other people laugh. And the few friends that I did have at that school, they could tell that things weren't right at home, and they would oftentimes, 4:30, 5 o'clock, kind of come around and try to get me out the house. I would, once I did get home, I would have to wash the dishes. The shower in that house the shower worked, the drain did not. So the bathroom was probably maybe 8 foot in length, probably 4 or 5 foot wide. You walked in and there was a vanity, a toilet, and then a shower. And then to your right, there was a hot water heater. On top of that hot water heater, there was this big, almost like a popcorn bowl. And I would have to take the water out of the bathtub from the night before and put it out the window. So I've now got my ass handed to me emotionally at school. I come home to this complete bitch of a mom who is basically hungover every day, smells like a fucking refinery, and I would have to basically get my ass handed to me again until I got the chores done enough that my dad would come home. And what she would do, she would wait until a few minutes before my dad got home, and she would get up and ask me to do something else and start doing that, so that when my dad got home, it appeared as if she had been doing something when really she had done nothing. I was sexually abused. That was pretty shitty. That was rough, really hard to deal with. Especially when if it's a mom's, when your mom's friend, you really intimidated by this woman, where you can tell your dad, who won't, or at this time, later in life, I believe he would have, but at that point in my life, I'd pretty much developed the opinion that my dad probably wouldn't address my mom. My mom would probably be angry at me and probably had blamed it on me. And as at this age in my life, I'm very, very frail. Really bad point. And sorry if I keep doing. It's really difficult for me. I didn't know this was going to be this hard. But I basically found a hero. That's my Uncle Johnny. And basically what would happen is, after you're sexually abused, you hit a weird place where you don't know how to treat your emotions. You don't know if what is in your head is natural, and you don't know who you can tell, because you're just as ashamed and angry as you are sad and concerned. And it's really hard when you're young to weigh that shit out. And it's rough. It's really rough. But I found at that point that the best thing I could do essentially was to just let shit happen. I stopped taking her stuff, and I started firing back. And I didn't hit her. I've never hit her, but she would hit me, and I would just really let my anger out. At this point, I'm so fucking angry at the world. I'm so angry that I just let it out. And I would scream, and I would yell, and I was so mad. And she would hit me. And, it didn't matter what I said or what I did. It didn't matter how angry I got. I just couldn't do anything. I felt helpless. The woman still scares me today. I'm not scared of any man, and I have done security at bars. I will put hands on a bastard, but I swear that woman, she scares the damn life out of me. But what would happen is I would call my Uncle Johnny, and he would come get me. And Uncle Johnny's was a whole different world, man. It was crazy. It was like when you see those movies, when you see a kid in an orphanage, and then they leave, they play all that like happy, melodic, upbeat music, and the kid gets new clothes. That's what it was like going to Uncle Johnny's every weekend. It was like, it's like heaven. It's like I walk out of hell and go to heaven. It's like I had 5 days of hell followed by a weekend of heaven that I didn't want my Uncle Johnny to know how it felt. So, you know, I tried not to make it overly obvious, but it's crazy. I can remember walking in the house. My Aunt Mona, I had clothes there, and my Aunt Mona would, as soon as I got there, she would make me take my clothes off. She would wash them, and I think my Aunt Mona probably was just as much of my hero as my Uncle Johnny was. I give him most of the credit, but she did things differently. Uncle Johnny was more of the come here, son. You know, I love you, son. And then my Aunt Mona was the take those clothes off. I need to clean those clothes. She really kind of made me want to be clean. It was different when you smell like cigarettes and you just have that general just stench of dirty house, and then you smell clean. You really desire that. And something that my wife has taught me from doing work in childcare is that kids desire and yearn for structure. At home, I had no structure. At Uncle Johnny's, I did. And that was nice. It was really nice. So, I start to find who I am and really develop my personality around my Uncle Johnny. And there's so many things that I say and so many things that I do. One of my absolute best friends, and I definitely consider him a brother, recently passed away. And when I met him, my Uncle Johnny always called me partner. When I met him, I was always like, "What's up, partner?" And then he started saying it a lot. And there's a lot of things like that, like sport. I call people hammerhead. That's definitely my Uncle Johnny. So if you hear me call you a name and it absolutely makes no damn sense at all, it's probably my Uncle Johnny. You better not say a damn thing about it. He's like the coolest person on the planet. So I around the end of the 7th grade, I find that oddly enough, I can freestyle rap. It's the craziest thing ever. I don't really know why I was good at it, and I don't know where it came from, but it was an outlet. It gave me a way to release my anger. So I was freestyle battling in bathrooms, and I finally get to a point where I have something that I can let my anger out. I can just release the demons I have inside me. And I did really well with it, and people didn't understand that, when you see these rap battles, a lot of this stuff's kind of ridiculous, but a lot of those guys have demons, man. They're letting that crap out, and I let it out. I really did. I can remember the 8th grade. I had a gym teacher at Hot Gap, and I vented to her one day, and I slipped up and told her how crappy things were at home, and she started making me come after school to sweep the gym floor. But really, what she was doing is making it where I had to be there, and I think she knew I was kind of my mom's punching bag, and that was really good for me. Taught me a lot, and so I I leave. We moved. I mean, my life was full of evictions and past notice bills, and it was nothing to come home, and the water was off. It was nothing to come home. The electricity was off. We, in addition to the having to drain the bathtub, we didn't have central heating and air. Our windows were single pane. It was a block house, and my bed was a 2 mattresses on the floor with no sheet. We never had sheets. We I don't remember if we got evicted there or not. It's sad when you live so many damn places in your life because you're always evicted. It's the craziest. Either way, let's just assume I didn't get evicted so that it's positive. We moved to Somerville, and I went to Stratford High School, which was another just crazy moment. I've now lived in Charleston, West Ashley, and some of the rougher places growing up around, Crip and Folk Nation. Just really developing my personality when I'm not at home, but still having that ingrained in me. I leave all that and go to Stratford High School, which was complete culture shock. And things were a little different there. I had a couple teachers there that were really impactful. I had a language arts teacher. His name's Mr. McGrew. I hope like hell that he sees this. I really do. I hope that he sees this, and I hope that he knows that he impacted me. But Mr. McGrew got me to enjoy language arts a little bit. So things like Othello and stuff like that. We had a teacher, Mr. Howell, world geography. He got me interested in Rastafarianism, which led me to want to smoke pot. I mean, I guess that's not so bad. And Coach Braddock. We called her Coach Monkey sometimes. He was the volleyball coach. But Coach Braddock was biology, I think. And she would let me basically go to that class at any point in time. Like, I always had something to do there, I think. Like, I could basically just go there, which was cool. Gave me an outlet. But there were other teachers that were just complete assholes. There was a coach there. He was a wrestling coach, and we had a conversation one day, and in not so many words, he told me that I would not amount to anything. Well, I don't know what you're doing these days, but fuck you. How about that? I can remember I was in a algebra class, and I don't even remember that lady's name, but she was like freaking Stalin. If Stalin taught a algebra class, and she said, she asked me one day, she said, paper or plastic? I was like, what the hell are you talking about? She's like, well, you need to learn that. I used that today, actually. And I was like, wow, it's crazy. That's how you feel about me. I ultimately left Stratford because I had missed so many days that if I missed any more days that I would be truant, they would put me in jail. And the administrator there, Mr. Wyndham, told me that. So Mr. Wyndham calls me in his office, and this guy says, Mr. Waltz, you've missed too many days. And the next time you miss a day, if it's unexcused, you will be truant. And I've always been, I would think, relatively intelligent. I was like, Mr. Wyndham, wouldn't it be very counterproductive to take a kid that's missing school and then put them in jail, like, isn't that basically just guaranteeing that they probably won't have a very good future? Like, given statistics and all, wouldn't that pretty much set someone on the worst road ever? So I'm 17 at this point. I used the man's phone. I called my dad. I said, Dad, I'm going to quit school. And either you can tell this man I'm going to quit school, and I can sign these papers here where he has prepared them so nicely, allowing me to quit school, or I'm going to miss a day and go to jail. So, without even showing up, Dad told Mr. Wyndham that I was going to quit school, and so I did. I, at this point, had already met my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, and her mom showed me what a mom was supposed to look like, and showed me a love that I'd never really felt from a mom. There's a different feeling that I got. It was very comforting, almost warm feeling. And she made me feel worth something. My Uncle Johnny and my Aunt Mona had always done that, but they were my Uncle Johnny and my Aunt Mona. She really gave me the feeling that I belong somewhere. And that kind of set me on a path. So I went to GED school, and that was pretty interesting because I go to GED school. I walk in, and I take a pretest, and she says, "Okay, we're gonna grade this, and we need you to be back." I don't know. We'll just say it was a Monday. Come back Wednesday. I came back Wednesday, and she was like, "You don't need to be here. We can't teach you anything. You're going to pass this test. Come back this other day, take the GED." So I go back. I take the GED test. At this point in life, I am the night manager at McDonald's. And being the night manager at McDonald's was kind of fun. I'm making like $8.50 an hour. My buddy Cody Jernigan, really cool guy. We had a code word, and he would come through, and essentially I was to make McChickens with ranch, bacon, and cheese, as many as I could fit in a bag, and that's what they left with. So, sorry, McDonald's. I stole from you. I wasn't supposed to be part of the story. So, yeah, that happens. And I'm sure he won't mind, so I'm going to say his name. His name is Dale Decker. Dale Decker, I guess just one day it was like, you know what? I'm going to change someone's life. And it was nuts because he was the manager at Radio Shack, and I had showed interest about working at Radio Shack. And for whatever reason, I don't remember if he had approached me or if I had mentioned it to him and then he had approached me. Either way, he basically said I should come apply. So I apply. I'm still 17 years old. I apply at Radio Shack. I get the job, and I do well. Because I came from absolute garbage, I didn't prejudge people because I was generally pretty funny and not very shy at this point in my life. I did really good in sales. I have an addiction to tech, love cell phones. I sold the absolute crap out of cell phones. Dale saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And before I know it, I'm 17 years old in a management training program, which is kind of interesting because you can't be part of a management training program at 17 years old. And I don't think that Dale even thought about it because I know we had a dialogue one day about it, and we had said something, and Dale was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Yeah, man." So I I'm working at Radio Shack, making pretty good money. I was still working nights at McDonald's, and my dad calls me one day and says, son, my truck is broke down. I have a house I need to I need to trim in the mountains, and I don't have a way to get there. Can you help me? I was like, all right, sure, I'm down with that. Let me figure it out. Well, he's like, well, son, it's going to be a couple of weeks. We're going to stay there. So I'm thinking like this is a weekend thing, and then I realized that my dad is essentially telling me that we're about to go stay out of town for a couple of weeks. Sorry about that. I had to adjust the light. I realized how dark I was getting. Cheap Amazon ring light. And I basically, in an effort to help my dad, I put in my notice at Radio Shack, call my buddy Will Pennington, who is solid guy, just as goofy as I am, super solid. And I go pick up a 1984 Ram Charger. I leave there on a dealer tag. I pick up my dad, and there I am, Chimney Rock, North Carolina, trimming a house. So I've now left my retail job in management training, in line to make a really good salary, working 2 jobs to go work with my dad for $400 a week in a truck I just bought that gets terrible gas mileage, and I can't leave because his other employee's a crackhead and he doesn't have a car. So me and my very skilled carpenter father and his crackhead helper trimmed the house. Did construction with my dad for a little while, which sucked. Was not a very good carpenter, honestly. Probably fair. I can set the shit out of a door. I can install doors and windows all day. But I won't. Don't call me to do it. Not going to do it. And working with my dad was rough because throughout the time we ended up living in this house in West Ashley. It's a 1-bedroom duplex. And we did a couple jobs for Jody Baker. Jody Baker, if you're listening to this, fuck you. Jody Baker didn't pay us. We completely did a house. Jody Baker didn't pay us. There was a GC on the job. His name was Willie Brown. Really cool guy. Hope Willie Brown's still alive. Willie Brown gave us a partial check, held it from Jody Baker, and my dad and I had enough money to pay the bills, get a couple cans of beef stew, a bag of rice, tea bags, and sugar. Me and my dad basically roughed it for a little while, and I learned the value of working your butt off to be able to eat. Most people wouldn't expect that because I'm a big, goofy guy, and I do pretty good now. Anyone who's watching this that knows me, I want you to know I have actually been at a point where my dad, at this point, had a El Camino. We're downtown. Jody Baker didn't pay us. Fuck you, Jody, by the way, just in case you didn't hear it. We have like 2 oatmeal cream pies or something like that. No money. Enough gas to get home. Not enough money to get back the next day. We don't know that Willie Brown's going to pay us again because he really kind of went out of his way to pay us the first time. Literally, like, we're going to work, and because we don't have any other work to do. We can either do this work or go home and not do work. So we're going to do the work, hope we get paid to make the money. And I can remember in that time we got a phone call. Went and did some panic bars. It's if you're in like a school, that bar you push to open a door, those are called panic bars. We did those and made some money. We went to Chili's that night because we were just, when you're broke and you make like $600 or $700, it's like the perfect time to blow the money because you're a fucking idiot. And it's exactly how I was raised. So we went to Chili's, and man, I don't like Chili's. I'm here to tell you that's the best damn Chili's I ever had in my life. So I've done this whole thing and talked about all this just because I want you guys to kind of know who I am, and I want you to know that with this podcast, I'm going to be interviewing some people. I've got Bobby Gately. I've talked to him. He agreed to an interview. It's Gately Audio in California. Dude is a complete legend in car stereo. I've got Jimmy over at Mean Mug Pistons. If you haven't seen some of his videos, they're going pretty viral right now on TikTok and Instagram. So COVID kind of messed up the business he was in. He's taking them, engraving them. I don't want to give too much away because I'm going to interview him. But I just want you to know, when I ask these guys these tough questions, I'm not scared to make myself vulnerable. So I've opened myself up, and so here we are, and so I go through all this, and eventually, through all of these just different spots in my life, one way or another, I ended up where I'd worked at a stereo shop called Electro Concepts. A guy owned it named Mike Driver. Mike Driver's kind of a quirky guy, but really, really good guy. Meant very well. Little. He's had his stuff going in his life, but that guy taught me a lot about Ohm's Law and stereo. And I met Chris Dix while working there, and Chris more or less took me in. And I worked for him at Port City Wraps, which turned into C2X Designs, which eventually ended up being Rapstar Studio, which most of you probably know today. And the owner, Chris, now that has it, bought it from Chris Dix and his newest partner, Travis Postel. Not to say that Chris has had a lot of partners, but Chris partnered with Travis after I had worked for him. But working with Chris, I learned a lot about graphic design, learned a lot about the business and signs, and started my own graphics business. So this is the point in the story where I start doing better. This is the point in the story when the teachers are wrong. This is the point in the story when the beat up, abused kid turns into, someone that's going to be successful, turns into a productive human. And Chris just had so much grace and understanding and was just very helpful and helped me kind of develop and hone in who I would be. And years goes by. I end up with my own graphics business, which was originally Guerrilla Graphics, and I did well. I did really well. I landed a job doing websites for a credit card company. They were selling websites, and the websites didn't pay a whole lot. They were like $300 a piece, but I could do like 4 of them in a day. Joe at Joe's Truck Accessories. Joe is a great guy. He's in Somerville, South Carolina. Joe would throw me some work, and man, that dude, he was quick to pay. So that was always nice. I Winter Fabrication. His stuff's like the funnest stuff in the world because dude, has got badass trucks and he does metal cutting on a plasma table. I mean, who doesn't want to be around that? I was with a fella I know, Kevin Ellis, a buddy of mine, and I'm literally leasing space from him, selling graphic designs, making great money. Kevin's building these big wheel baggers in the shop, so I'm like hanging out with these dudes doing big wheel baggers. I'm like drinking Monsters like it's crazy because I'm stupid and spending a bunch of money. I financed a pickup truck. I bought my Silverado and put it on some Denali wheels, and Kevin painted the front end, and I really did well with the graphics business. So if anyone wants to know how I ended up where I'm at now with Palmetto Shed Company, that's actually how. I had a graphics business. I went and sold graphics to a Graceland dealer in Somerville, dude named Brian, another good guy that helped me out a lot. He taught me some cool things about sales and got me listening to podcasts and watching different videos about sales. And one day I don't know if he mentioned it or if I mentioned it. It was like, man, if I were just here, I could do my design stuff and sell buildings. I had done work for him, making him more successful. Together, we were like a great team. And one day we buy a used building and like clean it up and then sell it for a profit. And Graceland like forbids me to sell buildings again. And I was like, all right, like I'm at this point in my life, you can't stop me, dude. I'm a freight train. Like, I didn't need this when I got here. I just like the money. So I opened up a shed lot across the street. I've been kicking them in the nuts since. And that's how Palmetto Shed Company was born. I don't think it was born out of spite, but it was definitely born with a vengeance and born with a fire. I had basically developed a sales strategy that worked well, and that was my Somerville location. I was selling Pine View buildings, and that did really well. They were nicer than the Graceland buildings. I had done graphic design, so obviously I could do my own signage. I did my own branding, did my own Facebook marketing. It's how I got over there at Graceland, and eventually opened up a second location in Cottageville, which is a small town. Opened up the Cottageville location, have someone working the Somerville location, and that progresses, open up a location in Moncks Corner. And during all this, I had met who is now my business partner, Riley. And funny, actually, I can't remember where I was coming from, what I was coming from, but I was in my pickup truck, and I was coming through like Utahville or Cross or something, and I get a ticket, and I go on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, who can help me with this ticket? Not saying that my buddy Riley helped me with the ticket, but he helped me with the ticket, and he gets in touch with the dude there. They drop the ticket, whatever. I actually sold him a building, and he still busts my chops about that because I sold him a building and made some money off of him. Gave him a better deal he'd get anywhere else, but still made some. I'm sure he's going to be in the comments talking trash about that $1,000. He probably thinks I owe him that $1,000. That dude. So I meet who's my now business partner, and he's also business minded, and we get together and we talked about it several times. Man, we're gonna open a location. Open a location in Lexington, and man, that was a game changer. The most expensive location to open, but it paid off the best. So here we are now, 4 locations, and doing well. COVID didn't touch us. I don't want to brag or boast, but we've really developed a really good team. So I really want to talk to other business owners, man. How does the kid that grows up with the alcoholic mom who fights abuse, who was constantly around drug addiction, who grew up gang related. I mean, how does that kid end up a successful business owner? How does that happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happens. You have got to rewire yourself. That's what it is. So when you're born and you learn your way in life, okay? And a lot of the idea behind this comes from a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad's a great read. If you're into reading, read it. If you're not, listen to the Audible. It is a very valuable thing. But you're basically wired a certain way. And what Rich Dad Poor Dad teaches us is, so this young man has a rich dad and a poor dad. Basically, the poor dad says, you're going to go to college, you're going to work a job, you're going to make a great salary and buy a house, accrue debt, you're going to do all that cool stuff. Rich Dad says you're going to find things to invest in, then you're going to take those investments and reinvest, you're going to take those investments and reinvest, and before you know it, you've grown wealth. So I think a lot of it has to do with rewiring yourself. You have to wake up and decide that today I'm going to do things differently. So a cool thing that I've noticed just in the last maybe year, my partner Riley still works a full-time job, and he is in the transition of rewiring himself. And we haven't really had like this specific talk, like the whole rewire yourself talk. I've really kind of developed this in the last couple of days, just kind of thinking how to create a good analogy. But he loves his job, so that's one thing. But another thing is he's used to the I go to work, I make the money, I know this money's here, I'm comfortable with it. Rewiring yourself is saying, I've made the right moves, and that if I go to work, the time that I'm going to be at work, at my job, is more valuable invested into my business. At what point is your most valuable asset, which is your time? At what point is your time at your job going to cost you money at your business? And it takes a lot to rewire yourself from that. It's really tough. You have to have really grown comfortable with your business. I am a both feet in, let's make this crap work kind of guy. I am not scared to jump into something. I failed before. Not scared to fail. There's nothing wrong with failing. People like Elon Musk, had pitched ideas and failed over and over. Actually, right here behind me, these are original Nikola Tesla patents. These are the original patent pictures because I'm huge inspirations Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla today is known as a great inventor. He is a huge inspiration to today's tech world, and he died technically failing. But today, dude's a genius. Actually, right there, I have my Albert Einstein painting that we got. I think that was in the Bahamas, I believe. And Albert Einstein today is known as a genius. In his time, not so much. I believe that some people will live their entire life failing, but do so much good in the world that really it was a success. I hope that this podcast can, with interviewing different business owners, give people the right direction so that they don't end up with that. But I will say, I'm not scared to fail. Neither should you be. If you know that you're good at something and you really feel that you're good at it, and other people, all the time, people will tell you, hey, man, you should do this. You should check this out. Someone I'm going to interview on my podcast, his name's Randall Fowler. He is a musician. He is a brilliant musician. Randall Fowler is one of those people that is super humble, super nice, and he's been going to Nashville lately and doing some recording, and I actually got to hear some of the tracks that are unreleased. Absolutely brilliant guy. But Randall recently went from full-time to part-time at his job because he realized the time that I'm spending at work is taking away from my craft that is what I should be doing. He's a musician. He's not a hourly worker. He is a musician. He is very likely going to be a name that is a household name, and right now is in the transition where he is rewiring himself. He hit that point. He hit that crossroad, where he's decided, working a job costs me more than what my God-given talent will make me. And I think that's really what this whole podcast is about. So we're at an hour and 21 minutes. This first episode was supposed to be 30 minutes. Everyone, please subscribe. Please share this. We've got to grow this thing. Like I said, we've got Randall Fowler. We've got Jimmy and Mean Mug Pistons. I'm excited, really excited for both of those. We have Bobby Gately at Gately Audio. Really excited for that one. FYI, guys, Mean Mug Pistons, Texas. Bobby Gately, California. Randall is local. But, I just, this thing's going to grow. It is. I'm not going to fail. This thing's going to grow. I'm going to interview business owners, and we are going to pave a road where people can learn to rewire themselves. People are no longer going to be afraid. Something I've noticed is that the Mean Mug Piston conversations often talk to Texas Speed. I don't know if that's going to open a door or not. If I can do Texas Speed, I'm going to do Texas Speed, of course. Like, who doesn't want to interview Texas Speed? Hey, Texas Speed, if you're listening, please give me an interview. I would love to interview you and talk to people about how to grow success in a performance parts business. That would be awesome. Absolutely awesome. I really want to get, if I could get a professional drag racing person on board, that would be a blessing. I've talked to a couple of those guys, but please subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, hit the bell. The bell icon gives you notifications. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. If anyone has any questions, by all means, shoot me a message on the 60 Foot the Podcast Facebook. The comments, I'm going to go back and read them, but it is really hard to follow comments. So please go to the 60 Foot the Podcast Facebook page. Please go to that Facebook page, like it, share it. I'm going to be doing my videos on YouTube. YouTube's a much larger platform, and Facebook does a lot of just deleting stuff that they just feel they don't like. So we're going to steer towards YouTube, see how that works. If anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. And again, I love you guys. Thank you so much. And one last thing, I believe that people watch over us after they've passed. I seriously doubt that they watch YouTube videos, but I hope they're watching me do this video. And my dad, really good guy. Really crappy situation he dealt with most of his life. Really good guy. And my buddy Curtis passed away too soon. Absolutely love that dude. He's my brother. So, yeah, shout out to those guys. Let's play some of this crazy sounding music. Fade out. Or fade to black. We're going away. Here's my social media. Like and subscribe. This is my wife. She didn't know. I put her on Front Street. There's still 7 people. Hey, 7 people. I love you.